So I started to think about what is it that Mikel Arteta could have done anything different in this game. You know, Brighton nil, Arsenal nil, bit of a dead rubber, kind of a boring game to watch. Leave your comments below if you thought otherwise, but come on, like 0-0, like nothing of profoundness happened in regards to Arsenal. Just lots of effort, but very little substance. And now that the game has been over for quite a while now, it's 10 o'clock at night, and you're probably watching this sometime tomorrow morning. I started to ask myself, what is it that Mikel Arteta could have done different about this game that would have meant that we would have gotten a better result? So I started taking a look at the players that played, and I mean, I did my preview talking about the game, and the only difference is that the team really picked itself, except for the kind of Granit Xhaka position, which Arteta decided to play Sambi. I would have gone with Maitland-Niles, just because for me, I knew that potentially Maitland-Niles was going to provide a little bit more stability in terms of getting back, tracking back. He's got a good work rate on him, on him. So I knew that on a defensive end and a work ethic wise, then kind of working with Thomas Partey would have been a nice fit. But he went with Sambi, and you know what? I thought Sambi had a far better game there than Thomas Partey. But as I started to really think about what is it that we could have done, you had Brighton aside that were playing with three at the back. Were either playing a combination of, typically they play like 3-4-3, but today they was playing like a 3-5-2. So our midfield was always getting completely overrun. And anytime any of our midfielders had the ball, they just pressed us. They pressed us into making mistakes. We lost the ball, and then Brighton went and attacked. And you know, they did that all game, but they just didn't really do anything with it. Like, I heard a stat, them talking about the fact that Brighton had like 30 shots, but only 2 of them were on target. Like, that's appalling. That's bad, really bad. Whilst like Arsenal had like 8 and 2, as in 8 shots and 2 were on target. And you have to say that could have been done. Fair shout to Brighton. I think Graham Potter got his tactics right. But what could have we been done differently? So when you look to see at what was on the bench, and as you could tell from the thumbnail, one of the guys who I wanted to talk about was Gabriel Martinelli. Now, I've talked about Gabriel Martinelli at the beginning of the season. I said that we would need Gabriel Martinelli. We would need someone who is going to be there to give us some extra oomph, some additional goals, because naturally our wingers just don't score a lot of goals. And even if Martinelli is not starting, definitely Martinelli should be one of the first guys to come up off the bench to be able to give us those opportunities to get goals. And today was one of those games whereby I expected Gabriel Martinelli to be that guy, to be that man, to come up off the bench, to give us that little bit of energy and potentially either score a goal or help create a goal. And throughout the whole 90 minutes, and even when we got to like the last few minutes of the game, the 88th minute, that's when we saw Ainsley Maitland-Niles come on for Saka. When I'm expecting that substitute to be made a lot earlier, about 20 minutes earlier, at least 15 minutes earlier. And definitely not for Maitland-Niles. Not that I have a problem with Maitland-Niles, because I like Maitland-Niles. But what about Gabriel Martinelli? You know, this is a guy who was lauded as one of our best young talent. A guy who people were comparing in the same league as Erling Haaland. And all he can do is ride the bench all day long. Hardly gets any games. I mean, Martinelli has played... hold on, I have it right here. Martinelli has played 4 games this season. 2 of them have been in the League Cup or EFL Cup, whereby he got an assist. And then the other 2 in the Premier League where he hasn't gotten anything. But when you look at even his contributions within the Premier League, out of those two games, only 150 minutes. So overall, not really much. And I think the two games in which he came on for was for like I think City and Chelsea, where like I mean, clearly we know we lost those games. But nevertheless, those are games whereby Martinelli could have an effect, and Martinelli could have had an effect on this game. The same way how he could potentially have had an effect against Brentford. We got Palace, I think, is next week. He's someone who could give us a little bit of extra, especially if Saka or even Smith Rowe or Odegaard isn't doing the business. When are we going to see Gabriel Martinelli? And now, like most fans, I'm left pondering. What does this mean for Gabriel Martinelli's future at Arsenal Football Club? This is a guy now whose contract runs out at the end of 2024. At the end of this season, he would have 2 years left on that deal, and I know there is an option to have that extended for an additional year. But again, even if you're not looking at it from a contract perspective, Martinelli is 20 years old. 20! You have to start getting this young man playing regular first team football. I would be absolutely shocked if I was to see Martinelli a year or 2 years from now be in the same position like an Eddie Nketiah, who we see has talent. We know he could score goals and he can give you something to the team. But when you're looking at the overall essence and what he's able to give, he just simply isn't getting a chance. Like, what is it that he needs to do? What is it that he needs to do? Personally, I think he needs to go have a conversation with Ainsley Maitland-Niles and ask him what he did to come out of the doghouse known as the riding the bench. Because if Ainsley Maitland-Niles could come back from where he was, whereby he was on the verge of his Arsenal exit, to where he is right now, at the very least coming on getting regular game time, then Gabriel Martinelli sure could be one of those guys that could do that. We have players who are in far worse positions with Arteta than Gabriel Martinelli. We got William Saliba, who's been treated as though he's got leprosy and has just been sent out. Just go to Marseille, do whatever you want. Guendouzi doesn't even look like he's an Arsenal player anymore, at least according to Arteta. And don't get me wrong, I actually agree with how the whole Guendouzi incident was handled, but you would have had to have thought that after this such long time that things would have just been naturally been able to be repaired, and things would have just come back into where they are right now and kind of bring them back into the fold. But no, we don't get any of that. And that's my biggest criticism about Mikel Arteta, is that certain players like Gabriel Martinelli just don't even get a chance. They're on the bench, and the only reason why they're on the bench now is because we're limited in terms of the types of players that we could really bring on. We don't have much wingers, and we play with wide men, so you're gonna need to have wingers on the bench. And yes, we got Pepe. Willian is now gone. Hooray, he's gone. But really and truly, it's just Pepe there. Reece Nelson is at Feyenoord. And it's really only Martinelli. So I ask this question. Mikel Arteta, can you give the boy a chance in the Premier League? And I don't mean for the last 5 minutes of the game, 10 minutes of the game. I'm talking a proper chance. We've got Crystal Palace coming up. And I'm a big fan of Patrick Vieira and what he is doing with Crystal Palace right now. And yes, they aren't the finished article, and they make lots of mistakes. And similar to Brighton, they create lots of chances. They just don't really put them away. But they always play well. They always have the energy. And I believe that Arsenal could kind of shape themselves to be a side like Palace, whereby they've got good, talented youngsters that they're playing in a style of football that's vibrant, that's attacking, that we as fans like, and that we could see an element of progression kind of going forward. And I think what we're seeing here now is that we see nothing with Martinelli. But I'm busy here ranting just because we got a draw. I'm a little bit disappointing, but if you watch my preview, you'd have heard me talk about how I called it as a draw, but I thought based on Arsenal's recent form that we would have been able to pull off a win. That wasn't to be the case. But I thought it would have been a 1-0 draw and Arsenal would have scored, but that seemed not to be the case. But off to the next one, and you just have to hope that we could start to improve on the way how we play, put things together, and yeah, just keep going and keep striving. But I do hope Gabriel Martinelli does get a chance like Arsenal, because we're going to need him this season. Whether it being just to provide cover and provide goals every now and again, we're going to need him at some point. We're seeing Granit Xhaka drop down like flies. Saka went off injured near the end of the game, which is why Ainsley Maitland-Niles was the one that came on. And you just have to say that I hope Saka isn't kind of long-term injury. My guess is that it's probably just a bit of cramp. And I expect to see Saka up and running next week overall, or at least after the international break. But yeah, can we see Martinelli, please? Arteta will make the fans happy. Let's get it done. Let's go back to winning ways. And yeah, I just hope this is a blip, because I don't want to go back to feeling the way how I think most of us Arsenal fans were feeling before. So definitely, guys, leave your comments below. Please do remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And I will see you all on my next video, which will probably be sometime either early next week or probably Monday or something. I'm sure something's going to pop up, as they always do during this time.